This summer, I want to try and unpack an idea with you. And usually summer is looked at as the season to kind of coast. We even talk about it in church life. Well, it's summer. But this summer, I want to challenge you to use this season for something different than coasting. I want to challenge you to live into the power of metamorphosis, to become more than you are by the power of God, to rise up and live fully into your own life. I know you've heard me say many things similar, but this summer, I intend to give you the best that I've got in this series, and I want you to be here when you can. I get it. I know we travel a lot in the summer. I want you to do that. I want you to have fun. But I also want you to be here, and I want you to invite people to come. This summer, we will not coast. This summer, we will grow. This summer, we will become more than we are, even on this day. So together, I want you to pledge with me that we're going to lean into and live into the power of metamorphosis with our life. So I want you to huddle up with me this morning, and I want you to think with me for a moment, because today I want to look at the passage that Lisa read, but I want to do it in a new way, and I hope that you'll hear a new word for your own life. I want to begin with a poem that my favorite poet, one of my favorites, Mary Oliver, she has this question. Tell me what it is you plan to do with your one wild and precious life. Now, I'm no poet, but I want to add one word to that poem on this day for you to consider along with me. If I could, I would add the word unpredictable to that line. Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious and, yes, unpredictable life? Well, I know so many of us in this room think that death is reserved only for those who live a long time. You know, for someone else, for everyone else. And we sort of know that one day in the distant future, of course, when death comes, it'll be way out there. But my, we have been reminded just recently in our own family that that is not true. That we all live with death as a constant companion. That death is in our midst, in the middle of living. And whether you want to think about it or not, Emily Dickinson, another poet, wrote about it, because I could not stop for death, he kindly stopped for me. I'm not trying to be morbid, or I want you to think with me, though. This much I know on this day, until the day, that day. Your day, my day, until that time, until that moment, we have now. We have now to do what we will do. We have now to say what we will say. We have now to live into the fullness of our own life. And none of us have the luxury of waiting on that task. None of us. And Cody Johnson, if you like country music instead of poetry, he wrote these words. If you got a chance, take it. Take it while you got a chance. If you got a dream, chase it, because a dream won't chase you back. If you're going to love somebody, hold them as long and as strong and as close as you can till you can't. A reminder to all of us. But here's the thing. In our living, I think what Oliver Wendell Holmes wrote is true of most of our lives. Many people, he said, die with the music still in them. Too often it is because they are always getting ready to live. Before they know it, time runs out. Now, I want you to let that sink in this morning, not to make you sad or bring you down. I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to wake you up. I'm trying to wake up myself. I'm trying for us together to realize that I think he's right, that many of us die with the music still in us. That you've got dreams. You've got gifts. You've got abilities that God has put into your life. You have them. What are you waiting for? You're waiting to another day, to the perfect time, the perfect chance. It'll never come. It'll pass you by. And that's where, I suppose, our passage for today really comes into play. Because for us to live fully in our own lives, into our own lives, and for us to really honestly experience something like metamorphosis, something has to change. It has to change. You can't live your life in the same old way. You can't maintain the same mindset. You can't just go through the motions of your life and expect for metamorphosis to happen. It won't happen that way. Something has to change. Metamorphosis, you know what that is. I suppose, I hope you do. This past week, we were with a group of students, along with Jim and Laura and our grandchildren in Costa Rica. We were there on an educational week. We visited maybe places I wouldn't have chosen, but we were there. We went to 3 different butterfly houses or gardens. Now, I like butterflies, but one would have done me. But I have some beautiful pictures of butterflies. In the middle of the week, Laura told me the story of Rosie, our 5-year-old granddaughter, who asked her mother one day, Mom, do you know the different animals that go through metamorphosis? Laura said, no, I don't. Yes, I do. And she said that Rosie looked at her and said, Mom, how could you not know? And proceeded to list all the animals that she knew of that went through the process of metamorphosis. You know, the process where a caterpillar undergoes this miraculous transformation to become a butterfly. The caterpillar starts its life crawling on the ground. Limited, I suppose, by its physical form, unable at that point to soar to heights. But through the process, as you well know, through the process of metamorphosis, it encases itself in a cocoon. It undergoes this radical change from the inside out. It's during that time that the caterpillar's body breaks down and reforms. It reshapes itself into a completely new creature with wings. And it breaks free, it breaks through, it breaks open. And though this transformation, I'm confident, is not easy, it is transformative and beautiful. What I want to say is for your life and for mine, we undergo, at least potentially, we could undergo a process of metamorphosis, of learning to break free from our old ways, learning to embrace a new way of life, the life that Jesus offers. And so you and I have this opportunity together. That's the transformative power of this passage for today. I just want you to hear the words again, at least to verse 6. There was a festival of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. We already know that it was on Sabbath. Everyone in his culture would have known that a healing on Sabbath really is not only not recommended, it's really frowned upon, but nonetheless, it was then that Jesus went to Jerusalem, and he was by the sheep gate. There is a pool there. And it was there that a lame man, lay ill. He'd been sick, he'd been lame for 38 years. And Jesus saw him lying there and knew that he had been there for a long time. He said to him, this is the strangest question. Why would Jesus ask this question? Do you want to be made well? 38 years this man had been unable to walk. 38 years he had had to depend on other people. 38 years he'd been trapped in a cycle of despair and stuck. 38 years of waiting by the pool. 38 years of hoping. 38 years. And Jesus approached him and asked, do you want to get well? And that's where I want to focus just for a moment on this passage and how it relates to our life. This paralyzed man by the pool, it's more than just his legs. I think after 38 years, there's something else going on inside this man. I know we're not told this, but I think he's on the verge of despair. I think he's tired. I think he is more than discouraged. I think he may have given up. And I don't know this. I don't know if he had grown bitter or not, but it almost sounds like when Jesus asked him, the man said, "Sir, I have no one to put me into the pool. And when they do try, someone else beats me into the waters." Can you hear it? He'd been waiting for something to happen, and nothing had happened. This paralyzed man by the pool, he represents the paralysis, perhaps of inaction, of that can hold us back from experiencing transformation in our own lives. He remains stuck in the condition that he found himself in. I wonder, I know it's true. I don't just think this is true. I know it's true. I think that a lot of times in our lives that we think that, well, we would acknowledge, I know I need to change. I know there's a better way for me to live my life. There's more to my life than just this. There's a better way, and I think what we do is that we often wait for the perfect moment. We're going to wait. Just hang on. Wait for the perfect moment. And then my life will change. Then I will make a change. The only problem is that if you wait for the perfect moment, you'll miss your chance. You'll miss it altogether. I mean, how often do we allow fear and doubt to paralyze us from taking the first steps toward growth in our own life? Like the paralyzed man, I think we have to learn to confront our own inertia and take a leap of faith towards transformation. We have to not only desire it, I think we have to take action and move toward what Jesus is offering us, all of us. Just as the paralyzed man lay by the pool, perhaps despairing, I wonder how many of us are trapped. It's not something you say, but something that resides inside that holds you back or holds you down. I wonder if anyone here today is paralyzed by a sense of fear, or you're comfortable where you are and you just don't want to be bothered. You want to be complacent. You're familiar with the circumstances. You know the routine of your life. You know where your limitations are, and you don't want to fail, and you certainly don't want to fail in the eyes of others. And so you just stay where you are. And yeah, maybe you want it to change. You want your circumstance to change, but I don't know, you're afraid to step out of the comfort zone and embrace the challenges that come with transformation. And so we make excuses. Yeah, I want to be made whole. I want to be made well. Lord, of course. If you were to ask me that question, yes, I want to be made well. But truthfully, I think what we do is we end up making excuses. It's not the right time. Or I'm too young. I'll wait till I'm older. Tell Jeremiah that. When God called Jeremiah, you remember what he said? He called him when he was just a young person, and he said to him, "Do not say I am too young, for you shall go to all whom I send you, and you shall speak whatever I command you. Do not be afraid of them, for I am with you, says the Lord." For others of us, I suppose, some of us would say, well, I'm too old. I'm too old for anything new to happen. I'm too old for transformation or change to occur in my life. Well, I would just remind you of Caleb. You know, Caleb in the Bible, who said to Joshua when they were going into the promised land and they were divvying up the land, Caleb is now 85 years old. And he said to Joshua, I'm 85. And I'm as strong as I was at 45. So give me the hill country that the Lord promised me that day. What Caleb was saying at the age of 85, he said, I'm still looking for the next mountain to climb, and I'm going to climb it as long as I can. There's no too young or too old for transformation. Transformation is possible for all of us, for every one of us, no matter where we are. And the excuses that we offer, when you look at them, when you stand back and look at them, I mean, I get it. This story, I'm not being insensitive to the man. I'm not being insensitive to him at all, but I am saying this. It seems like what he said to Jesus in response was he was really depending on someone else for the change that he himself needed. And it was only Jesus that could do that for him. I suppose the other thing I want to say this morning is I think that we sometimes allow fear of change to hold us back. Do you want to be made whole? Do you want to be made well? Let me say it another way. Do you want to grow? Do you want to change? Maybe some of you are thinking, not really. Sounds like a lot of work. And I'd have to give something up in order to gain something. I would have to make some changes. But I think the real thing that stands in our way is not just laziness. I don't think it's just complacency. No, I think it's fear. Because Jesus' question actually, it challenges this man to confront his own fear of change and to embrace the possibility of something new happening in his own life. This paralyzed man, 38 years, he had grown, I'm confident, he had grown so accustomed to the generosity of others to survive. He had He had grown accustomed to leaning on his friends for whatever help that he needed. He couldn't yet stand on his own 2 feet and take up his own mat, but he also had to take up his own life if he learned to stand on his own feet and become responsible for himself. He had not had that opportunity. I don't know, but I wonder if the paralyzed man at the pool, I wonder if he feared the unknown. The possibility of failure. What if he tried to get up and he fell down? Maybe he'd already tried that a time or two. What would it take to break free from his paralysis and to embrace an entirely new way of life? I think we need to hear this in our own lives, because I think change can be and is often scary. It requires us to step out of what we know into the unknown. It means that we have to let go of what's familiar sometimes in order to trust what could be ahead in our life. But it's through embracing change that we truly can experience growth and transformation in our life. And so what I came to say this morning, to me first, then to you, but to all of us, is don't let fear hold you back or hold you down. That is the way change occurs. That is the way growth happens in our life. Of course, in this passage, the beautiful thing about this passage, when Jesus says to him, stand up, take up your mat, and walk. And by the power of God and the faith that must have been in that man's heart, a miracle happened that day. A lame man who had sat there for 38 years waiting for someone else to do something for him that only he could do for himself by the power of God. He found strength in his legs to get back up, but he found strength more than in his legs. He found strength in his heart. In his life, he found the strength to try again. He found the strength to get up and do something that had not been done in his life for 38 years. And some of us are here thinking that, well, I'd like to change, but it's just the way I am. It's just the way things are. It's just where I am in life. It's just my circumstance. I don't know. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's me. Maybe we need to hear this story again in a very deep way. Maybe we need to be reminded of the possibilities that come with the power of God at work in the world. Maybe we need faith to hear Jesus say again, arise, take up your mat and walk. Whatever it is in your life that you face, no matter how hard that may be in the moment, I hope that you will hear a word that can inspire you, that we can all be inspired by this story in the text that was written all those years ago and yet is so relevant to our own lives. Jesus, who notices a man who sat by a pool for 38 years waiting for something to happen, and says the words, get up, arise, take up your mat and walk. And the man did it by faith. Now, I don't know where you need to hear it. I don't know how you need to hear this story on this day, but this is the first sermon of a summer of sermons that will deal with the power of metamorphosis, of becoming more than you are by the power of God. And this much I know, and this much I am telling you on this day. This is not about simply a new program. It's not about a new, self-help. I'm not talking about that. This kind of change this man experienced only comes through faith and the power of the risen Christ. When those two merge together in the moment, something of possibility can happen in our life. And I'm asking you on this day to embrace that possibility and recognize that by the power of God, your life can change. Something like metamorphosis can yet happen. Something beautiful can yet be birthed from your own life. And so on this day, I pray, and I hope you'll pray with me, that we will not be content to remain stuck with our lives. That we will not allow inertia or fear of change to hold us down or hold us back. But we will have the courage and the faith to step out and embrace the new possibilities of God in our life. And while you're at it, I hope you'll pray that we'll all have the faith to trust that God is at work in our lives and in the world around us, and that He alone has the transformative power to change our lives. It's true, you can change some parts of your life. You can change your closet. You can change cars. You can move houses. But you can't really change yourself until you open up your life by faith and allow the transforming power of God through Christ to change you. And it's there you'll find the power. The power. The amazing, miraculous work of metamorphosis begins to happen somewhere in your soul or your heart or your spirit. However you want to say it, something on the inside begins to change, and before you know it, you'll see something like a butterfly that spreads its wings on a sunny day, floats through the air, and just for a moment you stop and are amazed at the beauty of the thing and wonder quietly, how in the world did that happen? You know how it happened. The same way a lame man who had been lame for 38 years got up and took his mat. I don't think he just walked home, friends. I think he danced all the way home on new legs. Today I'm praying that God will give us new minds and new hearts to have faith to get up. And not only go again, but to get up and become more than you are in the moment by the power of God. God, help us to do it.